back for episode number 25, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good landmark,
It is.
or whatever you call it.
We're getting
Good point to get to.
Yeah, and we're. I notice off your notes, I think we're getting more realistic and better with our notes, because oftentimes we have like 7 things written down and we get to 1 or 2, but today there's 2 things on the list.
2 things on the list, and I think that they'll be pretty easy points to discuss.
Yeah.
Although at some point I am going to have to rant about one thing, but we'll go into our first thing first.
All right. There's the first cliffhanger for everybody, keeping everyone on the edge of their seats.
Actually,
as
there's
they're
a couple
listening.
things I should rant about,
Okay. So I'm sure.
but we'll get to those eventually, I'm sure.
I'm looking forward to hearing them.
All right. So the first we got to start with, obviously, I guess it was the conference finals. I've been asked about this by multiple people. We got to talk about Jake Oettinger getting pulled after giving up 2 goals in what, game 5
Yeah.
of the conference finals.
First 2 shots of the game in game 5.
First 2 shots, they go in. You're in an elimination game, and he gets pulled. And Casey DeSmith goes in, which is fine. Like, Casey DeSmith is good. I'm not worried about that. I thought it was odd how he got pulled, or they took the timeout, then he was going back to the net, then that's when he found out he got pulled.
Yep.
Usually coaches pull the goalie and take a timeout,
Mm-hmm.
so the other guy can get warm, right? So, where I took issue with obviously him getting pulled was Pete DeBoer's comments after, which I've been a big Pete DeBoer fan this whole time. Like
Good
the
coach.
last 6 years.
He's proven good.
Right. He's made the conference finals 6 of the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been fired 3 times, which is odd. So anyways, he said obviously he gave up the first 2 shots of the game, but it sounded like maybe the bigger reason that he pulled him was because he's lost 6 of 7. Quote, Oettinger has lost 6 of 7 elimination games against the Oilers.
Yeah, the truth kind of came out on that one. Usually coaches don't say that. Usually they stick with, I'm just trying to change the flow of the game, change. We talked about this last episode, which I don't necessarily understand, but that seems to be what coaches lean on. Whether or not that's what they think, I think they say that to protect their goalie.
Yeah, but see, this is where I come in, and I would debate that that's the truth. I think Peter DeBoer thinks that's the truth. But I don't even think if I'm a coach going in, I don't even think I look at the last 6 of 7 games that he's played. I'm just looking at who do I think is going to, give our team a good chance to win, and it's Oettinger, and that's why I'm playing him.
Yeah, I think coaches look at history though.
Okay, that's fine. But here's the other thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like the Dallas Stars have given the Oilers a test at all in the conference finals the last 2 years.
No.
So they've lost 6 of 7 games, but it's not like Oettinger has been playing bad. They've just have been getting dominated and can't play with the Oilers, and so they lose.
The first thing I thought of when he said that he's lost 6 of 7 was, well, I guess now what, 7 of 8? Why did he say 6 of 7? It would have been 7 of 8.
I guess after the game, but I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe he's thinking at that time it was
Right.
6 of 7. Oh,
Right.
yeah, I guess he was probably thinking that.
Right.
What a weird thing to say about an individual when your team lost the last 6 of 7.
If the Stars had been dominating every game, but they lose because Oettinger gives up a soft goal or something, that's understandable. Okay. But they're not losing because of him. They haven't given him, Peter DeBoer has to have watched more film on those games than anybody else in that organization because he's the coach. That's what he does. He knows whether they've given him a good test or not.
Yeah.
And to me, it just felt like for the Oilers, nobody in the West gave them a test at all.
Yeah, but even if that was the case, that Otter wasn't playing good and the team was, you still probably don't say that. I feel like I would go up there and be like, well, we've lost 6 of the last 7 against Dallas, and we just needed to shake things up.
Right, that's what I'm saying is you would never just put it on one person, I wouldn't think, because the team has lost 6 of their last 7, not just your goalie.
Yeah, it wasn't the Edmonton Oilers against Jake Oettinger.
There's nobody that's played perfect. I don't know, I think as a goalie, obviously you're going to take responsibility for everything, all the goals you give up and whether or not you win. But I don't think from an overarching standpoint as a team you can put the loss on any one individual player, especially your goalie if your team hasn't even matched up with that team. Like the Kings didn't match up with the Oilers. Darcy Kemper played really well, and guess what? They still lost. You could still put that he lost, 4 out of 5 games that he played?
Yeah, you could say that, yeah. You want to know my opinion on it?
Yes.
I don't even know if you've gotten your whole opinion on the whole situation out yet. I mean, you did say what you had a problem with was
I didn't like the reasoning
after.
Yeah, I didn't like the reasoning.
Right.
You lost 6 of 7. It's like your team has lost 6 of 7, and you're the head coach.
And I agree with you. What bothers me the most, if not the only thing that bothers me, is the post-game press conference and everything he had to say about the situation. He, in my opinion, a PR person should have stopped him on the way to that meeting and or that interview, whatever you want to call it, that conference, and said, "What are you about to say? Because this is probably going to determine whether or not you have a job." So clearly nobody did that. But
right.
If I'm a PR person, that's probably what I'm doing with Peter at that point.
And I don't think this is his personality, but it feels like he's just throwing the loss of them losing in the conference finals 2 years in a row on Oettinger.
Yeah, for me, he's just doubling down, which is like a defense mechanism, but it was the wrong thing to do. At that moment, after I should digress a little bit, but after what he did on the ice, I'll get to that, it should have been, in my opinion, he should have said, I pulled Jake for whatever reason, right? Whether I thought, whether his reason was to shake things up or because I just felt like he wasn't playing his game.
Right.
Either one I'd be fine with, but I lost my train of thought.
Well, it's like we've talked about. I mean, as a goalie, you can't look at whatever the last games are. You're just focused on this game.
Yeah.
And I guess as a head coach, you have to look at more things like chances against and chances for, and you have a more overarching outlook on the team. But in that game, you pick who you're rolling with for the lineup, and that goes from center to goalie, and that's what you're rolling with.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like what you said, too, about just playing. As a coach, you like to believe that they're just playing whoever they think has the best chance of winning them that game.
Right.
So
and giving them a good game plan to win that game.
Right. So, again, I was going to digress. Maybe this will help me get my train of thought back. But if I'm to dissect the entire situation, in my opinion, what I think happened, I think the coach, after the second goal, thought in his head, okay, I need to call a timeout here to settle my team down, shake things up, however you want to word it, and I'm going to pull my goalie, and this timeout is going to give my backup goalie a chance to warm up.
Right. That's typical.
Yeah. What I think happened was he was so pissed and so emotional about the situation that by the time he called the timeout and looked down, he had 20 guys staring at him like, what are we doing here? You know? He said whatever he said to his team in that moment and didn't realize until he saw Ottinger's name bar in the back of his jersey skating away from him that he had not pulled him yet.
Right.
Then, where a lot of people think he made a mistake is from that point, he basically waves Jake over and looks like he says, like, get the F back here.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, is not the way to do that. I wouldn't have done that. I think hand signals are bad. They're probably, quote-unquote, disrespectful, right, to a certain point.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with Otter's comments of being embarrassed when getting pulled. I don't think you're embarrassed every time you get pulled as a goalie because it's just part of the reality.
Yeah.
But that moment would have been embarrassing for anybody. So I get what Otter's saying.
Yeah.
So from that moment, if my opinion is correct and that's what happened, which again I'm just speculating here.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I'm assuming. What I would have done if I was Peter DeBoer is in that press conference, I would have said I was trying to shake things up and I screwed up by how I handled it. I meant to pull my goalie.
Yeah.
And I waited too long to do it. And I understand it looked bad to Jake, to the team, to the fans, all potentially, right?
Yeah.
I just mishandled the situation. Because if you're a fan or Jake Oettinger and you hear the coach say that, you can at least reason with him being like, okay, all he was trying to do was what he thought was best for the team, giving them the best chance to win that game. And he recognizes that how he handled it was disrespectful or incorrect.
Right.
But he didn't do that in the press conference. That's what I mean by he doubled down on the situation.
Yeah.
Which made him look, in your eyes, and I feel like a lot of people's eyes worse.
See, I think I don't mind him pulling Oettinger. I don't mind him being truthful about why he pulled Oettinger. What I'm saying is that I think his reasoning was off. If he said, I just wanted to shake the bench up, that's one thing. If he said he's lost 6 of 7 games, that's another to me. Because this is a new game.
Because it wasn't Otter's fault.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right. That's what I'm arguing for.
Right.
Now, I think obviously the way he did it wasn't the best, but I think if I'm him, I'm probably panicked and upset at that moment because it's an elimination. We've just lost 3 in a row to that team.
For the second year in a row,
and we could have lost game 1.
Yep.
But our power play got hot at the right time, and they took dumb penalties. So we could have gotten swept. We've just lost 3 in a row. This is an elimination game. The boys are going to come out flying, and then we give the Worm a wide open shot in front from a pass from the corner all by himself on terrible defense.
Yeah, you can't do that with the Worm on the ice.
And then we give Janmark a breakaway. Again, terrible defense. And those are his first 2 shots.
Yeah.
It's not like they came in and wristed one from above the tops of circles and he just missed it, which happens. It's like, no, that's 2 good goals.
And he got a piece of the first one.
It's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible for a right-handed player to get a pass from his left side corner on his strong hand and chip it over the far side. But he did it. That's a former Hart Trophy winner, if I'm not mistaken, in front by himself in an elimination game.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good at the puck.
So if he's like, okay, I just want to switch things up, totally good. But to me, that Jake lost 6 of 7, that's why I got to pull him. I don't like that.
Do you think he was just spewing words at that point, or do you think that's actually what his thought process was?
I think he had thought about that fact before the game because as a coach, I'm sure you watch trends, right?
Yeah.
I've never been a head coach, but you probably look at trends, who's doing what, obviously. So that was probably in his head.
On game notes, they were saying like maybe their opinion was maybe DeBoer saw it was presented to him, or he saw the fact that Otter let in or lost the last 6 of 7 or something. And so it was fresh in his mind. So then 2 goals go in. He's like, I got to get rid of this. I got to pull this guy.
Right.
No one really knows that detail.
Right. And obviously, it's as a goalie, you want to make a save.
Yeah. Which Otter said. Have you and I talked about his 10-minute interview? Did I send you that?
Okay. The main thing we talked about, which kind of it reminded me of what we said earlier, is if you're in an elimination game and you guys have just given up 2 on 2 shots, if you're Casey DeSmith, you're not looking at the coach.
No, no.
Yeah, I'm looking anywhere but the coach.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna look at him and look like you need to pull Otter and I need to go in. That's the last thing you want to do as a goalie partner.
Yeah, no. I'm just making sure all of Otter's stuff at the bench is ready. The water's nice and cold.
I'm gonna keep him dialed in.
Yeah, the towels are here.
So even if DeBoer waved down to DeSmith, you probably didn't see it. He would have had to say that's when you're looking forward. You're kind of listening. It's quiet. You're just looking forward.
Yeah, you're waiting for the word.
Yeah, you're like
you hear no chance right now.
Right. Yeah, you hear.
He's not pulling Jake
either you're gonna hear nothing and they're gonna take the face off, or if I'm Casey DeSmith, you're gonna hear Casey. And you kind of look. He's like, let's go. And then you're like, oh, okay. The equipment guy's already grabbing your stuff.
Yeah, I imagine the National at that point.
Yeah.
Casey DeSmith turns around. The equipment guy's already holding all his stuff.
Yeah, it's already there.
But yeah, I don't think at that point Casey DeSmith is even thinking about him having to enter the game at that point. Not after 2 goals.
I wouldn't think about that either, especially in a must-win game where it's he played, I think, a little bit in the first round, but he hasn't really played, especially in a pressure game, in a while.
Yeah,
and he went in, he obviously they got scored on right away, but rightfully so. He looked a little jumpy going in there right away.
Wow. Come on.
Yeah, I haven't played in a playoff game in a month, and now I'm going in and McDaddy's rolling out to take the next face-off I'm in.
Yeah, I'd be a little jumpy too. I'm jumpy thinking about it.
Yeah, I'd be jumpy too.
It still went through him, but that was a weird goal.
It was like a scramble, and he probably should have covered it.
Yeah.
But I get why he poked. He's like, just get it out of here.
Yeah.
Get it out of here. My guys will clear it. Get it away from me. Guys will clear it.
Yeah. He had
goes right to their tape, and it goes through traffic. Nobody even know it went in the net.
No, you
got the official.
People got to realize he hasn't even felt a puck. Even the warm-ups, you're when you're the backup, there's I don't know.
You're not making
routine,
many saves.
No, you're not. And you get in the net, you might see 4 or 5, and they're usually coming pretty high.
Yeah, they walk right in, and they're just going bar down.
Yeah, the boys have done warm-ups 95 times so far in the season. They know when Casey enters the net, it's time to feel good.
Range
a little bit.
Open.
Yeah, Otter's feeling the puck. He's out of there.
Yeah.
Oh. targets in the net, boys.
And it's not even like they gave Otter like, oh, here's some wristers. We're going to keep him to the outside for the first 15 minutes of the game so you can get in a rhythm. It's like, here's the Worm in front by himself. Here's Matthias Janmark in front by himself.
I just don't get what happened
Enjoy
in
it.
Dallas, man. Like, I watched that entire Winnipeg Jets series, and mind you, I didn't watch the Colorado one very in depth, but against Winnipeg, Dallas just looked so good.
I don't know. I don't think anybody in the West is really giving Edmonton a test, is what I'm saying.
It's like second year in a row.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I
I
know
know.
a team that'll give him a test.
It wasn't the Jets.
They're about to meet him tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. The Panthers are going to give him a test.
That team will give him a test.
The Oilers are somehow better. The Panthers are even better, too, than they were last year. What were you going to say about Ottinger's 10-minute interview, real quick?
Okay, so I can't believe I didn't share this with you. It might have been on Saturday when I saw it, or Sunday. You and I weren't together, regardless. But I'm still surprised I sent it your way. But I feel like every athlete, obviously specifically goalies, need to watch this interview because obviously, like, every question is regarding him getting yanked in that game, and just his attitude and how he communicated to the media about the entire situation was one of the most professional interviews I've seen from a goaltender. I can't verbatim remember exactly word for word what the questions were, but you can imagine they were kind of, what were you thinking when Peter pulled you in the game? And he kind of just went into depth. One thing that really sticks out to me that he was saying was he just feels like, he wishes he could make those 2 saves.
Of course.
But he puts in so much work, and he feels like he's only half as good as he's going to be, and he's just going to learn from it and get with his guys and try and figure out how to make those 2 saves in the future.
Yeah.
And within this same 10-minute interview, he's making comments like that, but he's also saying how he feels like he's still one of the best goalies in the world. So for me, I was just impressed with how he came off humble, but also super confident in his abilities.
Yeah.
And he's confident in his current abilities, but also humble in knowing that he can still be better.
No, I like that. I mean, that's the attitude you got to have. Is I 100% need to get better, but I should still believe in myself and believe that I can get better.
And exactly. And he had with the questions that were being thrown towards his way, like he had the floor to just throw his coach under the bus, and he didn't. Like, you'll have to, again,
trade me right now.
Yeah, he could have.
He was going to Patty Waugh.
Everyone saw the Patty Waugh comparable, like, GIFs and photos or whatever. But which, by the way, did we ever figure out if Ray Ferraro was in both those pictures?
I think that was Ray Ferraro.
Yeah.
When Patty Waugh was pulled for the Canadians, and then Jake Oettinger was pulled for the Stars.
Yeah.
I think he was in both of them.
That's wild. Stay away from Ray, unless you want to get moved.
So, I mean, the bottom line, I think, what I'm trying to say with this is, I'm okay with him getting pulled. I don't think that I would have at that moment, but I don't like the reasoning behind it. If it's like to change the team up and wake them up because the boys just came out and laid an egg in the first 5 minutes of an elimination game at home, yeah, okay, that's understandable. And it's like, but I mean, if you're gonna criticize him about not winning games, you have to take other guys out who aren't winning.
100%.
So like, who else isn't playing well? Right.
You haven't won. You lost 6 of 7 too, coach.
Right. Your team has lost 6 of 7, obviously. And if I'm not mistaken, they scored like 5 goals. They didn't score any goals like the last 4 games of the series. They got dominated.
They couldn't do anything, man.
They couldn't do anything.
Like, they looked slow.
And Stuart Skinner played great, but he would have the leeway to give up a goal that went through him, like 5-hole in the ice the last game.
Mm-hmm.
And they win like 4-2. And he didn't have to steal any games. He played well. Maybe he stole the second one. So maybe he stole 1 game, but he played well. But like, the pressure isn't on him to steal games and be perfect all the time. Whereas in Dallas, when they're playing Edmonton, the pressure is on Oettinger. They're like, if he's not perfect, they're not going to win. Yeah. And even if he is, they still might not. Yeah. Darcy Kemper was pretty darn close to perfect. Like, he was unbelievable in that series against Edmonton, and they got roasted.
Yeah, which just tells you, I guess, how hard it is to beat that team when you're letting them in. But
yeah,
you give Connor McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, you give these guys numerous opportunities, they're going to bury.
The worm,
yeah, they're just going to bury.
I mean, it's the same with Florida. Bob has played really well, but he hasn't had to steal games. They're winning his Oilers in Florida are winning his team and losing his team.
Yeah,
and that's what good teams are.
Yeah, which is what I thought Dallas was, but maybe I just like to think that because they beat my team. They beat the Jets.
Didn't look like it in this series.
I was like, if you're going to beat Winnipeg, you must be good.
So the bottom line is, yeah, like I said, I get why he might have pulled him, but I don't agree with what he said.
Your whole thing is
his
the reasoning.
My whole thing is the reason.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing, or what I really disliked about it, is the fact that he doubled down after making a mistake. I think the way he pulled him was a mistake. But again, he had the floor to just explain this situation and explain why he did what he did. And he could have fixed it all.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this now, because this is another thing that keeps coming up.
You also didn't like how he did it.
No, I didn't like how he did it, but I understand people make mistakes.
But in Peter DeBoer's defense, I would be fired up in that moment.
100%.
Like, the boys are going to come out flying, man. It's an elimination game. They want to win. I know we do.
Yeah.
And then we're down 2-0 5 minutes in on 2 good goals. It's not like, okay, well, that was a wrister from the blue line. That's fair to give up. The goalie should have it. It's like, no, here's two yellow brick roads to the net.
Yeah. See, but my point is, though, we both understand that the emotions were high, so we understand why he did it. I think how he did it was a mistake. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
I think he probably, thinking about it, he probably was like, I wish I had told DeSmith or made it more clear that DeSmith was going in before that timeout.
Right.
And,
But we both understand that because of emotions, we're not perfect. In that situation,
right.
We can understand anybody making a mistake in that situation. But again,
right.
He then had, 55 minutes to be like, think about it, and then more time after before his press conference to think about what I'm going to say to the media. Yeah. Like he's got to be thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's right. So you're more like he had time to cool down.
100%.
You think his answer should have been like, "This is all of us together. We gotta find a way to
100%.
be better."
Protect your guy. Protect your guy. Protect yourself for one, because now you're one opinion away up top from getting fired.
Right.
For the record,
and or below Jake Oettinger, and because it could be him or Oettinger, and I don't mind coaches being honest, but I would like it to be an accurate honest. So
100%.
I think it's inaccurate that Jake Oettinger has lost 6 or 7 games. I think it's accurate that your team has lost 6 or 7 games.
And I've just never been a fan of throwing individuals in a team sport under the bus. Like, I've protect the individual at all costs.
See, I think if a guy takes a bad penalty, you're like, yeah, that was a bad penalty. We paid for it. He'll learn from it.
Okay, touche.
You're not denying it.
Touche. I agree.
You can't deny it.
I agree. Okay, but what if a D-man gets burnt wide twice in a game?
Then you probably, I mean, if the media, I probably wouldn't single him out, but if the media asked about it, like, yeah, just he got burned a couple times, he's better than that, and it won't happen next game.
Okay, yeah.
Because the player would be like, yeah, man, I got burned, and your coach isn't being like, that guy's terrible.
I don't think
the coach is just saying what happened.
Yeah, I don't have any
good way.
I don't have any problem with that either. I think that's fine. Besides the point, I don't think I would do it that way. But that's just me. But I'm not saying that's how it's
right.
What's right and wrong.
Right. I think you could do it. You could say this guy made a mistake, but not do it in a bad way.
If I don't like the person, let me change that. If I don't like the person, like I think he's a bad teammate or something, I probably would. But even then, I may not.
There you go.
Depends how hot I was.
Right.
I just can't imagine being that hot about something that happened 2.5 hours prior. Being able to have the awareness to be like, I need to make sure I say the right thing in this press conference because all eyes are on me right now. And I got to protect my guy.
Right.
Unless Jake Oettinger is a POS and doesn't work hard and he's just a scumbag,
that's the whole
then thing. I really don't care.
Right. Then I'm saying that for sure.
100%. But I don't think I've never ever once heard that about Jake Oettinger, and from my common sense is telling me that he's a good guy and a hardworking athlete.
And to Peter DeBoer's credit, I don't think he would let anyone who's like that be in that room.
I agree.
I think he's saying management, we can't have that guy.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
You can just look at who he allows in that room and make that assumption.
Right. So I want to be clear that we're giving Peter DeBoer a lot of credit in this situation, and it's not like against
I mean, yeah, from his interviews, you can tell. I think we like his style of coaching, and then just from his results, he's obviously a good coach. So,
and he's kind of said all year, like, our best players need to step up, or like even in regular seasons, like, our best players got outplayed by their best players, and we just need more.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of his style too.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you. First off, in your opinion, what needs to happen for both Jake Oettinger and Peter DeBoer to be a part of the Dallas Stars next year?
Well, I think I was going to say, if I did pull Otter after those 2 goals, I probably would have – you get the talk that no goalie wants to hear or listens to, but I probably would have pulled him in maybe between periods and been like, hey, man, I don't want to – like, I feel bad about pulling you there. It's not because of how you're playing. You saw a chip in front and a breakaway. And we just have had this whole series, man. We've had no life against this team. You know, with the life that we had tonight, I don't care how you play the rest of the game. There's a chance we don't win. Our only hope was to put Casey in, and maybe it wakes guys up.
Okay.
And I probably have that talk with him.
Okay, but he didn't.
He didn't, right. So I think that talk it probably has happened because they probably had exit interviews.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I shouldn't say it didn't. Maybe that conversation did happen and nobody knows about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I could see Peter DeBoer having that conversation, again, to give him credit.
So maybe, to answer my question, maybe that conversation already happened and they're all good, both of them already, and we just don't know it because we're not part of their organization.
I would assume that, yes.
If it didn't happen during the game, after that press conference, what do you think it's I'm asking you this because people have asked me, and in my opinion, this situation's fixable.
100%.
Fixable a word? Fixable.
Because there's a lot that we haven't seen. There's a lot that we don't know.
Right. So, do you think it's just a conversation that has to be led and, I guess, organized by, or I should say scheduled by Peter DeBoer for this to be fixed?
Probably, yeah, but I mean, his exit meeting probably was.
Yeah.
And that's probably exactly.
I mean, I hope so.
If he didn't talk to him between periods or after the game, and then he probably talked to him during his exit meeting.
And I guess that's just something that we don't get to know.
Right, we don't get to know that. And nobody does. I don't think the media knows. I don't think TSN knows that.
Okay. So if you're management of Dallas Stars, I don't know who their GM is. Doesn't matter. If you're that guy, are you letting Pierre DeBoer go? Because I'm assuming you're not letting Jake Oettinger go, but you never know.
I don't think I'm letting either of them go. I think we have a conversation with Peter and be like, what do we need to get to the cup? Because clearly we're just getting worked.
So I'm glad you said that because I agree. But a lot of people I think you've seen the general consensus is that one of them has to go. One of them's got to go. They can't both be in the same room. It's like I don't think people are seeing.
I think if it was classic Patrick Waugh, he's like, trade me right now, and if there was no conversation after he pulled him, then maybe.
But see, even then, I think even the Patrick Waugh situation, in my opinion, could be fixed, no problem.
Yeah,
after he says trade me right now.
Right.
He said that when he got off the bench, he was still pouring.
He was
sweat.
obviously upset. He just gave up 10 in like 30 minutes of hockey.
Yeah, I feel like I can be an owner. He said that to the owner, right? Or maybe there was the GM.
I guess the owner or the GM who was behind the bench and there was no glass.
Whichever suit it was. If I'm that suit, I'm just like, oh man, he's pissed right now. But I don't blame him.
And
like,
his
emotions are high.
Yeah, and they traded him.
Yeah. But I'm saying I could still have the conversation like, hey, do you really want me to trade you? It's not like I just feel like people from the outside looking in are like, oh, I can't believe he did that. They both can't be there. It's like no, like these two individuals have been associated with one another, going to war with one another, kind of. I understand it's a coach for 2 or 3 years now. They have a relationship that's been built up over those 2 or 3 years, every single day with one another.
Yeah.
Just because there's one hiccup, mind you, it may be a big one, doesn't mean they both can't be on a part of the Dallas Stars next year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that the immediate assumption is, they don't work well together. But again, we don't know what's happening in the room.
Yeah, in my opinion, no. Jake Oettinger has become part of the reason why he's become who he is because of Peter DeBoer.
And from what I've heard from player interviews, is Peter DeBoer is a very player-friendly coach, and does the guys like playing for him.
Yeah.
So I have no reason to early assumption without thinking about it would lead me to believe they can't be in Dallas together. But just thinking about it and everything, trying to look at the whole picture, I feel like they easily can.
And there's more stuff. Other thing fans have to realize is there's more situations like that where two guys go at it behind closed doors or at practice or whatever, times like 10 compared to in a game, because more often than not within a hockey organization, if you have any sort of disagreement with one another, you usually try and not display it during a game. You know what I mean? So like
you can't.
people need to realize that those two, Tyler Seguin and Peter DeBoer, might hate each other, and you would never know it. You know?
Right.
So just because there's a something happens like this in a hockey game doesn't mean two guys can't be in the same organization.
Maybe they work well together and they can have that disagreement right there because they know they have a good relationship.
100%. One of my favorite coaches I've ever had was an assistant coach in Everett. And him and I we didn't have a buddy relationship, but he was a player's coach. And he was in an assistant role, so you were able naturally to have a more personable relationship with him. Him and I would go at it once a month.
Yeah.
And looking back, at that time, I was like a 17-year-old dipshit, and he was just like an experienced professional who played in like San Antonio and Houston.
He's been around.
Yeah, he's been around. He knew what he was talking about, and I didn't.
Right.
Looking back, he was right every time. But we would go at it, but we would be the first guys to sit there and have a normal human conversation and be buddies after. So it's just, I think people understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not going to be a dead horse here.
100%. All right.
I think that's enough of the Otter talk.
That's enough of that topic.
We're completely doing a 180 on this next one, though.
Yeah, we got to get to our next one, which we've had questions about before, and I think that we should go into it, is puck handling.
Yes. I'm going to try and pull up do you remember the exact question that was brought our way?
Kind of. For a nervous fan, in what situations should the goalie play the puck?
Yeah,
something like that.
It is. I don't even have to look it up. That's why I love your brain. I can just ask you questions.
It was something like that. So I think we should go into all things puck handling, because I see a lot of posts where like goalies will go out to play the puck and then they'll get scored on. Mm-hmm. And then of course the Twitter comment is, if you're the goalie, tend to the goal.
Yeah. Well, my immediate reaction to that would be, I'm sure as a fan you wouldn't want to just see your D-man get absolutely annihilated by a guy forechecking as hard as he can.
So I think we should go into puck handling, when the goalie plays the puck, and why they play the puck.
Okay, how
so when should your goalie play the puck?
We're going right down to simplifying this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say it's basically any time the puck is going to enter your zone, go around the boards, be dumped in, shot on net, or just be dumped in near the net, and it's a situation where you can get to it and stop it and settle the puck down before your D or the opposing player is going to get to it.
Especially the opposing team.
So, if there's, let's say, the other team is crossing the red line and they're going to hard rim it into your zone, they're going to shoot it in, you're going to go out and play it and stop it from going around the boards. If they shoot it on net, obviously you're going to stop it and maybe try to give it to one of your defensemen. If it's kind of trickling into the zone towards the net, you're going to stop it and move it to one of your defensemen.
Okay, so why backtrack here? If it's rimmed around, why are you going out to stop it instead of letting it continue on?
There's multiple reasons you're going to go out to stop it. Number one, if they're hard rimming it, their forecheck is probably set up that they're going to have a guy go into the far wall. So they're expecting that puck to rim all the way around and get to that far side half wall on the hash marks. So when you go out and stop it, number one, you've already ruined their forecheck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number two, if it rims around, your winger or defenseman is going to have to go there and probably battle for the puck, and it's not going to be a clean exit. Your team might win the battle, you might not.
Yeah, you don't have possession of the
puck. And
puck.
even if they get to it first, they're going to be under heavy pressure, and it's going to be hard to make a play. If you can stop it and move it to your defenseman cleanly, they're going to have it on their tape clean, looking up ice with a couple seconds to make a clean play, and you're probably out of the zone.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Basically, the whole idea of a goalie playing the puck is to make your usually your D-man, but your player's job easier. And that could mean a bunch of different things. Like Hayden said, you get them the puck sooner. You get them the puck cleaner. When I say cleaner, I mean a better spot for
Like
them to
flat
make
on
a
their
play.
tape.
Flat on their tape,
Yeah.
not having to pick up the puck off the yellow or in an awkward spot behind the net. You know, if you pay close attention to it, you'll see goalies will have a look and they'll set the puck up behind the net. We call it a set or a
Set.
We call it a set. Some say leave it, but we don't like
That's
leave.
not what you're supposed to say.
Yeah. We call it a set. The goalies who are really good at puck handling will set the puck either closer to the boards or closer to the net, depending on what hand the guy coming to pick up the puck is. So if he's coming from the, there's no point in me trying to explain
You got to
this.
picture this.
It's
Just depending on their handedness. So if a left-handed player is going to come from the left side of the net, if you're looking up ice, their stick is on the left side of their body. So you're going to leave the puck towards the net. So when they pick it up behind the net, it's on their forehand on their stick.
There you go.
If it's a right-handed player, you're going to leave it to the boards because their stick is towards the boards.
Thank you for getting us there. I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Okay, that's it.
But everything we just said in the last 30 seconds there is all about making usually your D-man's job easier to distribute the puck to the next guy.
Right. So in the overall, the overarching principle is it makes your team exiting the zone much easier and more efficient. The harder it is to exit the zone, the more chance they're going to forecheck. The other team is going to forecheck. The other team is going to get the puck, and now you're playing in your own zone. If you can exit clean, you're never going to be in your own zone. They're never going to get shots on goal. They're never going to score goals.
Yep.
Except for maybe off the rush. So when you're playing the puck, you are tending the goal. In that, you are eliminating shots against.
Now, there's certain things a goalie can't do in regards to playing the puck. The most obvious one is the trapezoid. I have to ask you a stupid question. I obviously didn't pay attention to my shapes in school. Is the trapezoid where we can go or can't go?
That's where we can go.
Okay.
Yeah, the restricted areas where we can't go.
Is it really? Is that
We
really a
can go there.
trapezoid?
We just can't touch the puck. The puck cannot be in that area when we touch it.
Right. So is the trapezoid really shaped like?
Yes, it's a trapezoid.
Really? So it's
Yeah.
like a rectangle that's like not the same length on each side?
It's the same length on each side. The sides are just angled in.
Sorry, when I say sides, I mean like the boards is obviously a longer distance than
yes.
the goal line.
Because
That's a trapezoid?
because the sides are angled. So by the time the line gets to the boards, it's wider and towards the net it's narrow. I think it's 6 feet on each side of the net. The trapezoid.
Is it really?
Goes out to, yeah.
Is that big? Oh, I never
believe
realized
so.
how big that was. Anyways, so a goalie is no longer, as of 10, 15 years ago in the NHL at the very least?
20.
Okay,
21.
21 years ago?
Or 20. 2004, 2005,
Was
right?
it a lockout rule?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Okay, so as of over 20 years ago, they introduced the trapezoid because what was happening was goalies like Marty Brodeur or Marty Turco, just goalies who were sick at handling the puck, were able to go outside what we now know as the trapezoid and make plays, and it was limiting offense. But that just goes to show you further how effective playing the puck is for a team on defense. That they had to introduce a rule to limit a goalie's ability to play the puck so that there could be more offense.
Right, because the NHL and hockey's been all about offense the last 20 years.
Right. From doing things like that to shrinking goalie size to talking about the nets being bigger.
Or smaller around the back.
Or smaller around the back.
Now, I will say, I had a chance to work with the goalie coach for Dallas Stars, and he mentioned that even with the trapezoid rules, he speculated that Marty Turco was so good with the puck that he probably eliminated 10 to 12 shots against per game.
I want to know how he came to that. I believe it, but
I don't know.
How he got
But if
there.
he's working with them every day, I'll take his word for it. Now,
Yeah.
most goalies in the NHL, or most, have probably a 900 or above save percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're eliminating 10 to 12 shots a game, you're eliminating one goal against for your team a game.
Yeah, that's
And that's how useful
huge.
that is.
That's crazy.
Right. That's how useful that is.
Wicked stat you just said.
So goalies who are good puck handlers can separate themselves that way by being good with the puck. Now, I think we got to talk about for a second, what does being a good puck handler mean?
Okay, run with it.
I think it means you can do three things. You can stop the puck coming around the boards, you can make a flat 10-foot pass, and you can hard rim the puck.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all you need to be able to do.
I would say properly set. I would add a fourth one in setting the puck
Properly
up.
set it. Okay, properly set it for your defense forehand.
Yeah.
And obviously you got to make good decisions. So if their first forechecker is coming down the right side, you give it to your defenseman on the left. If their first forechecker is coming down the left, you give it to your defenseman on the right. You have to be able to read that. Now, the defensemen are going to yell at you and tell you which way to go with it as well.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, too, that we should probably bring up. Sorry, keep going. I'll bring it up after.
I think we should also mention that to make all this easier and to make this work for the goalie to play the puck, when they dump the puck in, your defensemen have to sprint down and get to the wall, the boards, behind the net, on each side of you, so you have options to move it. They have to skate hard in that situation, but skating hard back makes them exiting easier. Yeah. And they get to go play offense because they want to skate back. They want to get their toes up ice off to the side of the net, so you have a clean lane to give them a 10-foot pass.
Yeah. So more often than not, you're going to be giving a pass to a D-man. If ran perfectly, you're going to be giving a pass to a D-man who's facing up ice on his forehand, and you're just going to simply make a probably, 10 to 15-foot pass?
Yeah.
Flat
10.
right to his tape.
Yeah.
So, and keep in mind, that's Hayden's number one. How'd you word it? The most important?
One of them.
The most important skill to have.
Yeah. I think making a 10-foot flat pass is probably the number one skill.
But it depends. In my opinion, it depends where you're at. So, like, let's say you're a 9-year-old goalie who's now just developing the strength to be able to play the puck, or the skill maybe, the first thing you might need to work at is, yes, making a 10-foot pass, but also, the biggest one, in my opinion, is stopping the puck as it gets moved around.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you just kids don't, from what I've seen, have the strength and skill to tie together to stop that rim. You know,
right?
There's certain ways to do it, but we don't have to get into that right now. I was going to make a point as you were right or in the middle of your 3 points. It's gone.
Well, I can tell you a good time not to play the puck.
Okay.
When it's trickling to the blue line and the other guy's going to beat you to the puck.
Oh, I've seen you do that.
I know. Don't do what I did.
You didn't get scored on. That was like my favorite play I've ever seen you make. That was an overtime. That was an overtime.
It was overtime. The puck was like trickling to my blue line. I was like, this is going to be a breakaway.
We won that game in like a 12-round shootout, didn't we?
But this was against Fayetteville. We did win in a shootout, but it was like a 5-round shootout.
Oh, that's it?
I thought I was going to beat him there. It only trickled to the blue line, so then I had to end up like diving at it. Actually, I got there first, I think, and I shot it and just hit his shin pads and went into the corner. Then I turned around and sprinted back to the net while our defenseman played goalie and kept him from shooting. And
Didn't you slide perfectly into your reverse?
I did. By the time I got back into the net, he was coming to the front on his backhand, and he missed the net, luckily.
Carson Rose and I always say Hayden Stewart is one of the most athletic freaks when it comes to goaltending, but when it comes to he's a strong human being, strong like an ox. I know you're probably uncomfortable right now, but this won't make you uncomfortable, this last part. In regards to general athletic ability and coordination, not the best. So you got to remember, this is like game 45 on our team this year. A lot of guys have played with Hayden for like 200 games at this point. We're watching him sprint, which if he didn't have skates on would not be the best thing. Watching him sprint to make a crazy diving athletic, I don't even know what you call that, play, and then sprint back to the net and slide elegantly and beautifully into an RVH. It was one of the most bizarre, amazing things as a goalie and a goalie fan to look at. I was like mesmerized by it. But anyways, continue on. I don't even remember what you were saying.
So at that point, just take the breakaway.
I recommend taking the breakaway, but I guess somewhere in there is, hey, if you have minimal athletic coordination and ability, you can still make that play.
I technically got there first. I'll say I got there first. I just shot off his shin pads because there was literally no room to shoot it.
It's incredible how athletic you are when you have goalie equipment on.
I'll take it. So we were talking about, now, so those are all the situations when you should play the puck, right? Is when you have a chance to stop it or touch it before the other team is going to get there. Now, if it's going to be 50-50 and you're going to get there at the same time as the other team or your defenseman, probably stay in the net and let them handle it.
Yeah.
Now, I think we should mention what it does for the team. So we talked about clean exits. But also, because your defensemen are getting the puck cleanly and they don't have to go back to the puck facing the boards, pick it up off the yellow, and turn up ice to make a play, they also get hit less.
Yes.
And so if your defenseman can take 10 less hits a game over the course of 56 games or 60 games, that's 560 or 600 hits.
Or even just as a kid, when your guys' collarbones are made of gum.
Right. If you can eliminate that for your team, by the time they'll have better durability, and by the time you get to playoffs, it'll pay off.
Yeah.
So you don't want your defenseman to get hit. I always say one of the worst feelings for me, at least, is when I make a bad play with the puck and somebody has to either block a shot or take a hit.
Taking a hit, watching your D-men take a hit because you misplayed a puck is one of the worst feelings in the world.
Or one that you maybe could have gone and played, but instead they have to battle for it and they take a hit.
Yeah.
So you eliminate all that.
Yeah. Also, something to keep in mind as a spectator of the game. I think you kind of tapped into it a little bit. Some people are like, actually, where this question came from, a nervous hockey fan when a goalie plays the puck. That nervousness probably comes from when you do see the odd mistake a goalie makes. One thing to keep in mind, and I know this is going to lead to another point on your end, and I'll let you take it. One thing to keep in mind is what we said about how when a goalie goes to play the puck, almost at every level, there is predetermined calls for a goalie to move that puck. So on our team, if the puck is rimmed down a specific side of the boards, we call that the strong side. The other side of the boards would be the weak side. So on a strong side play, the D-man's job, if they want it on the strong side, is to say up. On the weak side, the call is over. And then if they want us to leave the puck where it is or peel it off the boards for them to wheel the net, we call a set, or they call a set. One thing to keep in mind, because we're a goalie podcast, is if you see a goalie make a play that gets picked off by the other team, keep in mind he might have been making a play that was called. And it's just relevant enough, again, because we're a goalie podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes be like, oh, why did he do that? It's like, I don't know. Maybe he screwed up, or maybe his D-man called an over when he should have called an up.
When you're going back to get that puck behind the net and it's a rim and you're going to stop it, you have an idea when you get to that puck what you're going to do with it, because as it's being rimmed, you're looking at where your defensemen are and where their forechecker is, and you're going to move it to whichever defenseman is open.
If you have time. So sometimes you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go up with this, and then you get it and you just go up, and your defenseman's there, he's open, he's yelling up, it's good to go. Sometimes you have time to turn your feet up ice.
Sometimes
if
you can turn your feet up ice, that's awesome if you have the time. Sometimes both your D are covered. That means they have a forward on each defenseman, and you hard rim it.
Yeah.
You bypass their F1 and F2, and now it's you've taken two of their guys out of the play. Hopefully, and now it's up to your winger, your rim specialist on the wall to win that battle and get it to your center or chip it out.
But see, hards are one of the, actually it's the third thing on your three things in regards to importance of knowing how to handle pucks or puck handling, because when you rim pucks, it's like one of the least optimal if it's a hard rim in the glass.
Because it just turns their hard dump that was going to be a rim into a rim anyways. Sometimes it's necessary, but it's last resort.
Yes, and oftentimes goalies, the only time they hard rim is if they're under pressure and they don't have time to look up ice and they don't hear another call, or they just hear a call from their D-man yelling hard, which happens a lot. And I'm sure everyone knows that, because if you watch hockey, you see them probably 10 hards a game.
Right. If their forward has better momentum and is going to beat your D to the puck, they're going to yell hard.
They have no choice, oftentimes. No, sometimes
it could be an over and you just beat their first forward.
Could be. But yeah, hard is like the least optimal play, because it's a 10-foot pass, not much can go wrong, because it's a short amount of time, it's a flat pass, it's on the ice, and there's no one in between you and your D-man. Rimming the puck along the glass, you're, like Hayden said, you're going to be probably causing a battle on the half wall, potentially hitting a stanchion, or in many leagues, you just do a perfect rim on the boards and it still kicks out to the middle.
Something. Yeah.
It just adds variables of things that can go wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so we covered that. Now, I don't know if I'm sure people know who Marty Turco is. But, again, the coach I was working with that worked with Marty Turco asked his number one tip for playing the puck, and his number one tip was take a look.
Yeah.
So if it's a soft rim, I like to look while the puck's being dumped in, where all their players are. But you want to look and see where the pressure is. Oh, that The time. Yeah. You want to look and see where the pressure is, and where you can move it. And that's probably the number one thing that'll help is being able to have the poise and calmness to take a look while there's heavy forechecking.
Yeah. One of the best at taking a look up ice from my memory was Carey Price.
Yeah.
So a technique for the goalies out there is instead of just kind of skating directly behind the net to stop a rim, Carey Price used to be so good at this. He would pivot. So if you imagine he's in his net facing up ice,
skate backwards.
Yeah, he would kind of do a 90-degree pivot so that he's now skating backwards, looking up ice, kind of timing it. He's following the puck down as it's coming down the boards and stopping it.
Yeah, while the puck is being rimmed around, he's looking up ice, skating backwards to go get it.
And I got to think, whether it's conscious or not, a player on the forecheck sees a goalie facing up ice and probably slows down. Whereas like if a player on a forecheck sees a goalie with his face facing the boards, he probably gets a little more sneaky,
Right. But see, Carey Price to me is a good example of an elite puck handler not having to do anything crazy. Carey Price was good at looking at where pressure was, stopping the puck, and making a 10-foot pass to his defenseman. That's all he did. Yeah. But he always made the right decision with it. The pass was flat on the tape, and they were out the zone. Mm-hmm. And that's to me just a very skilled puck handler. You don't have to be like this crazy, like Mike Smith. I'm going to toe drag two guys and then make a 50-foot sauce.
No.
You don't need to do that, and you also don't want to be a double-edged sword where you make a great play that works out sometimes, and then you make a terrible play that ends up in your net. Yeah. You want consistent plays that are good plays, the right play, simple, to your defenseman's tape, clean, and from there it's on them to get it out of the zone.
Yeah, did you already go through when not to play the puck? Like on rims and stuff like that?
Well, I did say, just my example of skating out to the blue line to try to race a guy to the puck.
I think you were probably about to get there, and then I stopped you with the story for about 3 minutes. But one time you don't want to see a goalie playing the puck, I think in both of our opinions, is when the puck is rimmed along the glass. Now, there's going to be – you can send me clips of goalies doing it and having success, because I would say it's probably what do you if a puck's rimmed in the glass, and it stays in the glass by the time it gets behind the net to you?
Yeah.
What do you think the percentage is of what's the success rate percentage of you actually stopping that puck and making a play?
Stopping it, making a play, maybe 10%.
Yeah, if that. Unless you're Jordan Binnington, he's the one that
if you saw in the Four Nations, he stopped all the rims and it threw off USA's forecheck the whole time.
100%. But he's a freak, I would say, in regard to puck handling.
Yeah,
he's relatively a freak in this day and age. He's no Marty Turco, but he's like the next closest thing we got at this time.
But you don't want to play it in the glass because, number one, you're probably not going to make a play.
It's probably going to ring right by you. If you're lucky.
Yeah.
You're, like Hayden said, maybe a 10% chance. I think that's generous. You're going to stop it and make a play. Maybe a 20% chance you stop it. And I would say there's probably about a 20% chance that puck hits a stanchion.
It bounces to the middle.
And then you're behind the net, and it's in the back.
And their F1's coming down, and it's going to land on his tape, and they're going to score. When it's in the glass, I like to yell glass, so the defenseman – it should be an understanding on your team that when it's in the glass, the defenseman, okay, he's not going to stop it. I like to yell glass to signify to them, okay, I'm not going to stop this puck, and then I like to duck down inside the net so that if it gets behind the net and it hits a stanchion and bounces towards me, it doesn't hit off my shoulder or head and bounce in the net.
That's a good point. Another thing for goalies is when that puck is getting rimmed, if you've determined you're not going to go stop it, preparing yourself for any sort of bounce. Because realistically, if you're not going behind the net to stop that puck, it's because it's being rimmed either really hard that you can't get to it, or it's in the glass.
Yeah, in the glass, you don't want to take your eyes off it.
No, even when it's a hard rim, I just don't think there's any time you want to take your eye off the puck.
And then there's a lot of rinks where it's rimmed flat along the ice, along the boards, and it hits a corner door or something and bounces to the middle anyways.
100%.
Be aware of that if you're playing in rinks.
If you're playing in rinks anywhere, basically.
Yeah,
if you're not playing in the NHL, just be aware of that.
Yeah, if you're anything under the NHL or Four Nations or Olympics.
Yeah, that's just the reality of rinks, I guess.
So I think that's a good time not to play the puck. We talked about when their D or their forward's going to probably get there around the same time. If their forward's going to beat your defenseman to the puck, but you're going to have a time to move it, then you can go play it.
Yeah. I hope that answers what was the question again?
For a nervous fan, when should the goalie play the puck, or what are the situations that a goalie should play the puck in?
Okay, so I think we covered all of it. Like obviously we explained when not to. If the puck's in the glass, we don't want to be playing the puck. Perfect situation is a rim that is going to get to you without being in danger of their forecheckers getting into it before you. You obviously have the rules where you have to stay in the trapezoid if you're an NHL fan. Or really, I can't think of a high-level league that doesn't have the trapezoid.
Everybody nowadays, except for the NCAA, because they're stubborn.
Are they using the square crease yet?
Yeah,
because I don't think the Western League is.
There's a lot of other rules with the NCAA that I don't agree with, but that's for a different time.
Besides the point, the objective of a goalie playing the puck is to make the transition from defense to offense more efficient.
Yeah, and hopefully you never have to play defense at all if you touch it first.
Right. Also to help aid in your defenseman's spine and not snapping.
Your defenseman's overall well-being.
Yeah. I would say those are the two biggest things, but obviously the biggest one is being a part of making the breakout more efficient.
Yep.
That's
and
it.
Making it easy for your team to exit. If it's easy for your team to exit, your team's going to be playing offense and you're going to be bored.
Yep.
But you won't get scored on.
And if you're a goalie wanting to learn how to play the puck and therefore wanting to know what to focus on and where to start, I think in our opinion a good place to start is practicing a 10-foot pass and stopping rims behind the net.
Yeah, and I think you got to get out of your comfort zone and play it and practice in games.
Yeah, just do it.
You're not going to be comfy, but you just got to do it. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to the timing, and it'll help you separate yourself, honestly.
100%. And as you get older, your D-men who are going to become naturally more responsible in getting back for you will be there to help in it.
Right.
I think that's another big part of things is when you're a kid and you want to handle the puck, it's tough because your team, no matter what level you're at, as an 8-year-old, are all over the place.
Yeah.
And goalies can't skate very fast, so you're not like a D-man who can get the puck on your stick and escape out of pressure.
Right. You got to remember, it's not right. You can't move. You're in one spot, and you got to remember that when you play the puck, it's not you on an island. It's a 6-man unit. It's between you, your defenseman, and your forwards.
Yeah,
it should be. If your defense don't want to skate that hard and get back because they want to save their energy, then that's your coach's. Your coach has to deal with that.
Yeah, at that point, it's your coach's responsibility, if we're talking that young of an age, to educate the other 5 players on the ice of how to recognize the goalie's probably going to go out and play this puck, and therefore, if he is, where do I go?
Right.
And that comes with time.
Yeah.
I don't remember our coaches really teaching us that when I was 7.
No.
But
no. So we've covered when they should play. Obviously, if your team's on a power play and they ice it down, you want to play it and stop it for your defensemen so they don't have to skate it off the wall. They can wheel the net and go back on offense. A quick note on that is if you can get out and stop it and they have all 4 players changing, then you can fire it up to your team if you can, but that's a little bit more advanced. But
that's like stage 5.
You can maybe catch them on a 2-on-1.
Yeah, or step 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Step 3 was what? Oh, rimming.
We didn't really have steps. We just had things you can do effectively, or the 4 most important things.
Okay. I still think we at least have 2 steps.
If you can do those things well,
right? But
stopping it and moving it.
I think stopping it and moving it would be like the 2 things I would prioritize as someone trying to learn how to do it. Proper way to stop it. That's a big thing that I've noticed kids we coach, they struggle to stop the puck properly behind the net.
Yeah.
And it just comes with practice. Like Hayden said, you got to get the reps in. And I think in both of our opinions, the time to get those reps in is not during your playoffs.
Right.
During practice.
Yeah, and stop it, I would say, with 2 hands on your stick. If it's on your backhand, maybe 1 hand because you want to be able to move it. You want to be able to pass it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I ever stop it on my backhand along the yellow with 2 hands.
Well, that's different. That's 1 hand, but you're ready to have 2 hands on it to move it. Sometimes if it's along the yellow backhand, a really hard rim, you might have to put 1 hand on your stick, but you almost want to dead stick it, where you just let it hit your stick with 1 hand and the puck will deaden.
Yes. It's on your backhand and forehand?
On your backhand.
Yeah.
I think mostly your backhand. Forehand's easier.
Forehand's so much easier. I think the most another important detail for goalies if you're practicing stopping the puck behind the net is I always call it the wedge. I don't know if you have another term for it.
Well, you just don't want it to put it back out in front of your own net, right?
Right. So you can imagine if your stick is angled in a certain way, kind of opening up your blade. If you're opening up your blade to where it's being rimmed from along the yellow, it's going to potentially hit your blade and pop out. But if you close that blade against the yellow, so your blade's facing the yellow of the boards more, it's going to kind of cause a wedge. But I've noticed too when I tell goalies to do that, they kind of wedge too much, and then it just
goes
acts
through.
as like a
Yeah.
I don't even know what,
It's
like a flap.
It just goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to find the right balance, but that again comes with practice.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to get the feel for it.
Yep. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, that's the nuts and bolts. Another little tidbit that you may or may not want to try is Carey Price cuts an inch off the top of his stick.
That's a big one.
To make it easier to turn with the puck behind the net, and to make a puck easier for the puck to get it out of his feet behind the net. Because behind the net, there's only so much space. So you might want to cut the knob off your stick a little bit. Just something to try. We're just throwing out ideas.
You said an inch. I'm gonna say 6 inches off a lot of your goalie sticks. Cut it off.
Oh no! I said Carey Price cuts an inch.
Okay. You need to cut off more than Carey Price if you're a kid.
My stick probably goes up to my mid chest when I'm on skates.
Which that is short. Okay, so I'm not even gonna go that far. I don't even know where my stick comes up to. Probably the same as like mid neck.
Yeah, but you don't cut yours, do you?
No.
Actually,
only because I had to this year because they came the wrong size.
Okay, right. You cut it to a size.
But I wasn't just like, oh, this is my goalie stick. This is the new size. No, like there's a method to the madness here. Right. So like there's going to be a preference in length. The reason why we're saying, did you go through why?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was about to repeat myself.
But again, it's just to make it easier to handle the puck behind the net, swivel with the puck behind the net, and pull the puck out of your feet when you lose it in your feet.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it might hit the boards and go into your feet, and that's when you're looking for it, and the forecheck's coming in, it's easy to panic.
100%. And the younger you are, the more important it is. But it's the opposite from what I see. And it might be parents or the goalies asking their parents not to cut their stick down. I don't know what it is. But from my experience, every kid under the age of like 12, their stick is way too long. And then they don't know why they can't play the puck. It's like...
Right. Or they have to play it with their stick, with their hand halfway down the shaft anyways.
Right. If I used a stick that was above my head, I wouldn't be able to play the puck either.
Right. It's like I wouldn't want to do it either.
You can't leverage anything with that.
No.
So that's a very important detail.
That's another tidbit. Austin and I, after practice, work on stopping puck off the wall, pulling it, and passing it every day, basically. Yeah. Another tidbit, Mike's, you see this, goalies do this when they shoot it in on you and you catch it and you want to play it. It's nice to slam the puck down with your glove because if you drop it, it could roll and be on edge. If you slam it, it's going to land flat and you can immediately play it.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
The last thing is, if you're playing the puck and you make a mistake and they score, like let's say you make the wrong play and they give it to someone else, don't stop playing the puck.
Yeah.
I remember I heard a story, Mike Smith, when he was with Dallas, played the puck, turned it over, they scored. The next one, they rimmed it in. He didn't stop it. Marty Turco was on the bench, and Mike Smith went to the bench, and Marty Turco was like, why didn't you play that puck? He's like, well, I just turned it over, and they scored. I don't want to play the puck. And he's like, no, don't stop what you're doing. Keep playing it.
That's so sick. I'd be like, okay, Marty.
Okay, yeah, Marty. But that doesn't mean keep trying to toe drag guys. That means keep making simple plays, 10-foot passes, leaving it for your D, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's a reason why we're doing it. And we just talked about it for 30 minutes here, but there's a reason why you're playing the puck. Just because something goes wrong when you do it doesn't mean you got to stop it.
Most of the time it's going to go right, and if it does go wrong, it could have been, it's a 6-man unit. There's a lot of ways it could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
You'll see Vasilevsky, and guys, Vasilevsky makes mistakes all the time. I think more than others playing the puck, and he'll get scored on, but he just keeps doing it.
Yeah.
Do you remember Barkov's goal where he worked Orlov in the corner? Went in front, passed it to Verhaeghe, who came from below the goal line for a backdoor goal?
No.
You don't remember that? Barkov was in the corner, behind the net, cut back on Orlov. Orlov's like this, trying to grab him.
Feel for him.
He comes, Verhaeghe's behind the net. He sees Barkov go like this. He skates up here, pass across, backdoor goal.
No.
You've seen that play.
I'm sure I have.
From the conference finals.
I'm sure I've seen it.
Okay. Do you know where that play started?
No.
In the Panthers' end, Bob stopped it. 10-foot pass to his D. Boom. We're gone.
Voila.
You guys go do your work.
That's it, man. That's their job. He did his job.
Right.
Little
Did his
10-foot
job.
pass.
Yeah.
That ain't hard to do, for the record. A little bit of practice. That ain't hard to make a 10-foot pass.
I think flat on the tape under pressure is, with a moving D, is not the easiest task.
Okay, so was he under a lot of pressure, though?
No, I don't think so.
It's not a hard
It's
thing
not
to
rocket science.
No.
But it's a skill. You got to develop it.
You can be a young goalie and develop that skill fairly quickly.
So that's what I got. Yeah, I mean, you can make stretch passes if they all four change on the fly.
Don't recommend that for
on the
most.
peak, on the penalty kill.
Don't recommend trying that until you're good at it.
And obviously
tens of thousands of pucks. Then try it.
Yep, and maybe the last situation you can play a puck in.
Diving sideways for a slow rolling puck at the blue line?
No, well, yeah, sure.
Sprawling, I guess.
I would make the argument when the other team pulls their goalie.
Oh, yeah.
You know exactly where that thing's going.
Yeah.
I don't even have to say it.
I don't.
You stop it. I don't even think we have to say much else, right?
I am 30 years old. I retired 2 months ago. Not once did I attempt to score a goal. And I got to play till I was 30. So I'm gonna disagree with Hayden on this one and say you don't have to learn that skill. I wish I had it though. Not only did I not have the skill, because I actually did practice it a little bit.
We practice it all the time
with you. I just didn't have the nuts to do it, to try, to think about it.
Just time and place. If it's a
game.
playoff game and you're up 1 and it's an elimination game, just hard rim it.
Just rim it. Just make your little pass to your D-man. Throw it in the corner. Let them deal with it.
Time and place on that one.
Yeah. But game 42 in Evansville 2 years ago, up by 2 with a forechecker, 2 forecheckers coming down the middle. My advice, just put it right between both of them. Like if you have 6 inches of room between those 2 forecheckers, just thread the needle.
Right. So the advice there is just close your eyes and rip it.
Yeah. Don't expect to see any video coverage of it though.
Right. Well, I think that's all we got on puck handling for now. That's puck handling crash course. I hope that answers the question.
I think it answered the question, and also I hope it was a little bit more informative as well.
Yeah.
For goalies. So those are our 2 notes.
That's all we got for today.
Yeah. Thank everyone for listening.
Thank you, everybody. I hope this was useful.
I hope so too. And everyone say a prayer for Jake Oettinger and Peter DeBoer.
The Stars.
I think they'll be fine.
We got the finals coming up. I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be a good series.
We get Bob and Stuart Skinner again. It's gonna be great.
Let's go.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.